What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. This right here, as you all know by now, is the podcast where we dive into the deep, dark, murky waters with a plethora of legendary guests. I am, of course, your host, your bastard of ceremonies, the #1 scumbag, Rex Ruger. That's REXXX. Right there, kids. You might also know me as the King of Sleaze, a.k.a. the Hair Metal High Priest, and most importantly, a.k.a. Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. Take a look, folks. You know it to be true that you are looking at the son of glam. The front man for the band just smoked a few grams. I got a million fans. I'm your ice cream man, Mr. Wop Boppa Loo Boppa Wop Bam Bam Shazam. Hot damn. Feeling good? Of course, everybody in the house looking good, including you all out there. You know how I get it done. If you too want the quaff like Roth, get you some. Coming to you as always from the Lavender Lounge of Love, where it all goes down. And joined as always by the great Keith Hernandez Puppet. You know him from the world champion New York Mets, 1986, number 17 in your programs, #1 in your hearts. My main man, my sidekick, the guy who has my back always. Together, we're bringing you the No Frills podcast. No frills, but plenty of thrills. And that's looking at the face of a rock star. And if you are watching this face right now, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And be sure to follow Pod Scum on Facebook. Get at us for all your Pod Scum updates and what have you. Today, we got a great guest, and he's here now, so I will not bullshit with you anymore. We will get him in here and chop it up on Pod Scum. I am pumped up. Let's do it.
Hello?
All right. I can hear you. Just can't see you yet.
Sorry.
That's all right.
That should work.
There you are. What's up, Chris? How's it going, man?
Good, good. How are you?
Chris Dovas from Testament. Well, not just Testament, Seven Spires, your own solo stuff. You know, we'll get to that stuff, man. But pretty exciting news, though, now. I mean, you know, joining the mighty Testament. I mean, that's huge, right?
Very.
Very huge. And so how do you end up in a band like that? Did they reach out to you? Did you have some kind of prior affiliation with them?
So yeah, I reached out to them when Gene left, because Gene and I already kind of knew each other a little bit, and we were kind of acquaintances. So
right.
But yeah, I reached out to them, and I sent some videos and auditioned and stuff. I just put out a couple of the videos that I used to audition with.
Yeah.
So Eric called me, and he's like, "I'll need you to fill in September, because of 2022."
Right.
Because Lombardo had some misfit states. And so I filled in for them. And so I had already played with them, and ended up going very well. Lombardo's schedule got very busy, and he ended up leaving. And then I got the call back from Eric and Chuck, and they basically asked me to come on full time. So that's basically how it happened. That's the short story of it, you know.
Now you're a guy who obviously certainly has has chops behind that drum kit. But is it unnerving for you as a guy coming into a situation where you're preceded by guys like Gene Hoglan and Dave Lombardo?
Would you say, is it intimidating?
Yeah, is it unnerving a little bit to say, now I'm behind the drum kit, and Testament has had a legacy of some great drummers, even going way back, I mean, they've had, as a Paul Bostoff been in there. I mean, they've had a lineage of some great drummers. As a young guy coming into a veteran band like that, is it unnerving to kind of take that seat?
It was, especially at first, because I knew that, a lot of eyes were on me, and also I looked up to the band since I was a kid. Especially Lombardo and Gene. Those are two of my favorite drummers right there. So to be put in that situation of taking over for them, I felt like I had a lot of responsibility and a lot of, I felt like I had something to prove a little bit, and I still, I still have I'm still practicing a lot, and I just want to do the best that I can do, I mean, so right now it's not as much, I'm not really nervous anymore because I've done 2 full tours with them now, and we're working on the album, and the friendship has been developing now, and we all get along super well, and so they've welcomed me with open arms, and it's been great. And the fans have been great, so and I've been putting hours and hours of practice into it to make sure that I can do the best that I could do. So, and I look up to Dave, and I look up to Gene as well. So, I just want to play the songs well live, and keep making the band sound good.
You make reference to Testament working on a new album. Take me behind the scenes of like what the creative process is like and what your involvement is, being kind of quote unquote the new guy.
Yeah, sure. I don't know exactly what I'm allowed and what I'm not allowed to share yet, but
fair enough.
What has been like what you've seen publicly though, right now is that Eric and I have been working on a lot of stuff together, and so I mean it's been really cool to get into their brains in a way, and how they write stuff. I'm used to people sending me tracks with scratch, like MIDI drums or program drums or something, then I got to put my drums to them, and then hop on a Zoom call and we can edit things and move stuff around. But with them, they Eric and I, he set a timer at one point for like 20 minutes, and we would just jam random ideas. And then like sometimes we'd make mistakes and stuff, and that would be cool, and we could take that, and it's very organic though, and it's very involved, I guess. It's much more like it's a different way of writing, and I'm super like excited to be a part of that method of writing, and I can see why they're so successful for all these years. Now finally being a part of this current writing cycle, I guess. Yeah.
And for you, if I could backtrack a little bit, what was your upbringing like? Like, how early on in your life did you get a pair of drumsticks in your hand and kind of know that music was a potential path you were going to take?
Well, my dad was a drummer, and when I was like a little kid, like 2 or 3 years old, I was kind of a curious, rambunctious kid, and I wandered into the basement, and the snare drum was set up with the drumsticks, and then that was it from there. I just wouldn't put the sticks down. I'd walk around the house with them. It was like I always had drumsticks in my hand from then. But then as I got old, I mean, I wasn't old enough to play really, that I just did whatever. And then when I was like 6 or 7, my dad started showing me some rock beats, some AC/DC stuff and everything. And then when I was like 9 or 10, that's when I really started taking like formal drum lessons with a teacher and really started learning from there. But I mean, my earliest memories of me, I was already starting to play drums and learn. It's always been a part of my life, which is super cool. I found it very young, and it was cool because my dad didn't just like put me on the kit and was like, I'm a drummer, so you got to play. It was he was actually getting ready to sell the drum set, believe it or not. And I just happened to find it before that happened, and then he kept it, which was cool. So
that's pretty cool, because you do tend to find that like when a lot of kids come home and say, hey, I think I'm going to pick the drums. Like usually most parents kind of let out that collective groan when it's going to be the drums, right? They're always like, oh, the drums.
Yeah, thankfully my dad was a drummer, so he was pumped.
Yeah, I can imagine. So these other projects that you do, Seven Spires, and then of course the DOVAS, your self-named solo project. Explain to me a little bit about those and what you've got coming up with those.
So I guess we'll start with Seven Spires. Seven Spires is right now we have one more show this year. It's a festival, and then we're just mainly focusing on the album. Okay. That's about it. We're nearing the end of the Gods of Debauchery album cycle, so it's definitely time to get a new album out. And currently right now the challenge has been juggling the Spires and Testament schedule right now. So that's been the biggest challenge so far. But yeah, that's and then also Testament's working on the new album too and everything. So a lot of like album recording stuff coming up. And then for DOVAS, my solo stuff, that just started kind of as like a passion project because I was going to music school, right? And there was a lot of there was a lot of times I couldn't practice drums because I had to work on ear training or counterpoint homework or harmony homework or something. And I thought to myself, well, I better not forget any of this when I get out of school, because that'd be a big waste of money.
Yeah.
So I started playing piano. I didn't like it very much, so I started learning guitar because I grew up listening to a lot of guitar players like Randy Rhoads and Yngwie and Jeff Beck. And so I was like, yeah, I could practice what I learned here on guitar. And that's why I started playing guitar. And then I started writing songs. And it was basically, a way for me to keep doing and practicing the stuff that I learned at school. And then it became a project. And then it's not a very huge project by any means. It's kind of just a side project, but I hope to do more with it. But right now I haven't had much time to do anything with it because of my schedule with Spires and Testament. But I hope right now the third album is completely written. I just got to get around to recording it and doing all the other stuff, releasing it and, hopefully finding a label for it or something,
So when you're writing music, for your solo project, what is I know I asked you about Testament's creative process, but specifically your own creative process, because, and I say this a lot on here, I always talk to a lot of musicians, and usually they're of two schools of thought. You get the guys that are very disciplined who treat it like a second job, or, I'm going to go in and write music for the next 5 hours in this room. Then you get a lot of people who just get like sparks of creativity all throughout the day. I talk to a lot of guys who are like humming riffs into their phone and jotting shit down. How do you create?
That right, what you just said there, like a creative spark, I guess, like when I feel inspired.
Yeah.
I then, there's been times where I've been watching like a horror movie or something, and then I get some idea because of some creepy melody that like the demon was singing or something, and then I'm like, oh, I can set up the interface and I live in a small apartment, so I don't have a big desk with a studio set up, so I have to kind of like get everything and plug it all in and then get ready to do it. So yeah, that's kind of how it is for me, at least when writing music. But like again with Testament, like I flew down there, and that was like okay, we're gonna spend a week together and we're just gonna jam and piece things together and blah blah blah. It was very cool. Sometimes we had creative blocks when we were down there, and we would same kind of deal. Was we'd watch a horror movie or watch an action movie or something and get inspiration, and then go write, or sometimes we jam for 15 minutes and we're like, nah, there's no spark, let's go get something to eat, or let's get a drink or something like that. And then all of a sudden we'd be down there for 3 hours sometimes, and they're like, oh, it was so that sounds cool, and take that, and oh, that was a mistake, but that would be cool if we did it like this, and then move it. So that was really cool. And it was really cool to actually be a part of a writing process with them, or with Eric, at least right now, of setting a timer and then just jamming and then listening to the entire jam and trying to come up with stuff from that. That was really, really cool. I've never done that before. So,
and I think it's great for any young musicians who may hear this, though, to even, to take inspiration from that. I think that's very poignant what you said, though, that even a band, who's rolled out such classic thrash albums as Testament, though, sometimes there are obstacles and roadblocks sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like the vibe needs to be, especially if you're writing with someone else, it needs to be a really good vibe. And just to be clear, with the Testament stuff, Eric would write all the riffs and do all that kind of stuff, and I was kind of there to be his drum machine, and I threw my 2 cents in as well, and especially when we were just jamming and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the case with that. But yeah, it's a bunch of different ways. There's a bunch of different writing aspects, I guess, a bunch of different ways to do it.
And now to go back to force it, though. And now to go back a couple of years to 2020, what did you have going on musically? If you can tap back into like when COVID first hit, did that derail a lot of your plans? Did that fucking throw a wrench into any shit for you specifically?
Yeah. So that was the year I graduated from Berkeley with a performance degree. So I couldn't use that at all. I couldn't go and perform. So I was like, great, I'm glad I did this. And I actually had 9 months straight of touring right after Berkeley that I was supposed to do. I remember I took some exams early and all this kind of worked out with my professors and all that. And it was going to be killer. Spires had tours with Amaranth. We had tours with Insomnium, Omnium Gatherum, a bunch of stuff going to Europe. We had so much stuff that we had planned, and then it just got canceled. As did everybody, right? But I actually had then moved back home with my parents and everything like that, because they were like, okay, well, why just stay with us, and you know, and because I wasn't working, right? So
right.
it was the most logical thing, especially after graduating school. And I actually, believe it or not, I thought, like everyone, I thought it'd be a couple months, 2 months. I thought later that year tours would come back or something, and then nothing. And I actually ended up being, I delivered newspapers.
Wow.
You know. Yeah, that was the only way I could make money.
Do.
Yeah, that's all I was doing. Was just I was delivering newspapers at night. It was miserable. I was like, wow, like this, you know, okay. And but then I only did that for a couple, 3 or 4 months, and then I recorded the Gods of Debauchery album with Spires. And then, believe it or not, during that session, some latch on the snare broke, and I basically the thing that holds the snares together I have a Ludwig Black Beauty, and I had to call one of my old drum teachers who's like this gear nerd. His name is John Medeiros.
Yeah.
And I called him, and he knew how to like tie string and stuff like they did back in the 40s or something, like those jazz guys to hold the snares in place. So he saved the session, but I had to call my local music shop where I've always gone to get. So he ordered the part for me, but then he was like, "Hey, you're not doing anything, right? Because of COVID and blah blah blah." I was like, "No, nothing, man." And then he offered me a room there to teach, like to rent out and teach and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So now I was like, "That's perfect." Now I had a spot. I had a space, and he was super cool. He didn't charge me rent for like the first 6 to 8 months or something like that, and just so I could kind of get going. And I started teaching online. Then I started getting some students. Then people could come in. We were all wearing masks and stuff like that. And slowly but surely, I started building up my own teaching business. So I was doing music full time again, and that was great. Now that touring is back, it actually ended up working out really well because now I'm touring and stuff like that. But then when I'm home, I'm teaching. So now I get income coming in 12 months of the year. You know, I don't have to always be on the road, or I don't have to always be teaching. You know, like it ended up working out really well. And so, it sucked, but it was at the beginning, but ended up being good, and I practiced a lot during that time, so I got my chops up and everything. So that was kind of this deal for me.
Are you finding any of your students either are familiar with any of your work and or Testament, or are any of these kids potential metal drummers themselves? Do we got some diamonds in the rough in there?
Yeah, I have one student right now who is he's like 14. And he's killing it. So he's like my most serious student and everything. And I get a lot of students after I go on tours, like with Spires or something like that. And I get some students that way, or people that just call into the shop or something like that, looking for lessons. But I try to only teach people that practice or take it serious. I try not to teach people that just do it as like an extracurricular thing, or just like if it's a hobby, it's fine, but as long as you're making improvements, because I've done the thing for a long time, especially during the pandemic, where like you had people come in and they don't practice at all, and then they don't improve, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm not improving, it's getting hard." I'm like, "Well, you have to practice, blah blah, it's not whatever." So I kind of stopped doing that. So now my roster's pretty full right now, which is good, and it's all people that practice and do their thing, and then I go on tours and stuff, and they're cool with me leaving for long periods of time. And actually my fiance is a drummer as well, so, and she works in healthcare, but she will take like my kid students or intermediate students and teach them while I'm gone, so they keep progressing. So it's good.
I work in healthcare too. I'm a nurse by day too.
Oh, really? Awesome. Yeah, she's like she works in the psych unit of the emergency rooms. Yeah, so she does the psychiatric evaluations and stuff there. So as you get older, and of course you're still, a seemingly young guy. I mean, I'm 50 years old, so I mean, but as you get older, though, and of course Testament, even though they are veterans of the thrash metal scene, they still seem like they hit the road a lot. Does their itinerary an issue for you at all, or do you just have like the ability just to go on tour for for as long as they want to go on tour for? Some people that can be a little dicey. The narrative in your life changes. You might have a family, or you might be tethered to an area and maybe not able to travel as much because of jobs or responsibilities or whatever. You pretty much have kind of carte blanche, so to speak, to just go off and just tour. Yeah, right now Testament is my number one priority. That just takes priority over everything in my career right now. So that's, if they want to be out for 10 months or something like that straight, then I'm there. If they want to do anything, that was what I said too. I was like, when I first joined, I was like, I'm here, and I'm gonna do this, you know. So I'm your drummer. Whenever you want to do anything, I'm available. So,
and you notice your drumming changing at all? Because I've talked to some other drummers on here, and certainly this is not to impugn anybody else's job in the band, because certainly, you know, thrash metal, extreme metal bands, you know, when they go out there and they hit the stage, you know, they do typically hit it hard. There is a lot of physicality behind the playing, but you as the drummer specifically, you know, there's a lot going on back there. Do you notice that, you know, that as you get older, and I'm certainly not insinuating that you are old by any means, but has your playing changed, or have you had to make any kind of adjustments? You hear about a lot. I've talked to a lot of drummers on here who have to change things physically, or like tweak the setup of their kit or whatever. I mean, maybe they get little tweaks, shoulder problems, this or that. You know, how have you held up?
Just since I joined them, you mean, or just in general?
In general. As your drumming has progressed over the years.
If anything, I feel better as I go on, because I keep learning, and I always try to work on my technique because I don't want to get hurt, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So I try to make sure that I'm hitting hard but staying relaxed at the same time, so I'm not like getting hurt, if that makes sense. You know? And,
totally.
But with Spires, with 7 Spires, it's very like, I should say, it's more technical. It's more like relaxed. It's more graceful, I guess, at times. I mean, I still hit hard, obviously, but then when I joined Testament, I started playing with them. I actually started getting blisters again, because I was hitting way harder, because it's way more energetic. It's way more like in your face, more aggressive, angry, you know. So I started hitting hard. Granted, I still made sure my technique stayed the same, but I guess it depends on who I'm playing with. And I actually started getting blisters and calluses again, which was kind of cool. I remember at the end of a show, I was bleeding all over the stick. There was blood and stuff like that. But
that's
that was
fucking
really
metal
cool.
right there, kids. That's metal.
I think I still have the stick somewhere. I never bled like that after a show. But with them, I mean, I'm hitting a lot more harder, because I'm trying to portray that emotion of aggression and anger and intensity when I'm playing with them, you know. Where Spires, they have a lot more like melancholy stuff, so it's a little bit different. Even the technique's the same, but the way I play is a little different between the two bands. So yeah, I mean, that's it. But I mean, for anything, I feel good. I'm 25, so I'm fine right now, but I'm always constantly protecting my ears. I'm constantly making sure I have good technique. I'm making sure I'm not straining any muscle groups, you know, making sure that the wrist moves the correct way, not like this, but like this. Just little things like that. Keeping good posture so I don't develop back problems, good balance, core strength. I'm constantly making sure. And I also have my drums so I don't need to reach very much. So I can be very relaxed, you know. I don't like reaching, or the highest thing I have is my china, but it's still within. I don't have to reach, you know. The sticks I can naturally sit there and I can hit everything and be comfortable.
I mean, that matters though. That really does matter though, because you're doing a lot of, repetitive movements though. And, it is very easy to tweak things. And, suddenly you fall into a bad habit and you do it for months or years or whatever. And then suddenly, you're fucked up because of it, you know? I mean,
yeah. It's good to stretch too and do all that. I mean, So I did try to take care of myself, basically.
So I did stop and visit the Chris DOVAS website, and I like the little fun facts on there, man. I certainly I made a couple of points here on about the favorite movies list. Now, why Lion King?
Oh, that's on the Spires website, right? Yeah. Why Lion King? I think it's a pretty brutal story. I don't know.
It really is. I watch it with my grandkids all the time because they happen to love it, which is why I wrote it down here. But for God's sakes, a fucking murder happens in it.
I know, man. It's brutal. It's Scar, and I always thought Scar was pretty black metal, you know.
He is.
So,
yeah, he is.
I love black metal. I just some of the times the way he talks, and it's really creepy and eerie. I like the hyenas in it. I don't know. I grew up watching that movie, but as I got older, I appreciated it more because it was also the music too, the Hans Zimmer stuff.
Yeah.
In that especially during the the Mufasa death scene and everything like that. Like, I feel like that movie also, and that scene hits very hard because of the music as well. So it's that's a big combined with the actual storyline and the music in it it's really, really cool. I think that's that's the best Disney movie in my opinion.
And what about Taken? You've also got Taken on the list. Are you particularly enamored with Liam Neeson's particular set of skills?
Yeah, I'm very, yeah, I that movie's killer. I really don't know why I love these movies, but I think like that movie, for example, is just, again, another really scary and real kind of like possible story. I mean, I don't know if what he did in the movie is possible, but what happened in it, the to his daughter, and it can happen, and that's very, very terrifying. So
yeah, and it seems like Liam Neeson is just one of those guys when he's in a movie, you know what I mean? No matter no matter what his physical age is, it's believable when he's kicking ass.
Yeah, it's pretty killer.
It really is.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
And if I dropped you on a desert island, and this winds up being one of my more polarizing questions, Chris Dovas's desert island pick. If I'm dropping you on the desert island and you've only got the one album to bring with you, do you have a definitive one?
I have to pick one.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I have it between one or two?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to ask you the same thing.
Okay.
So mine would be probably Obscura's Obnivium album.
Okay.
Are you familiar with that one?
Yep.
Okay. So that one, or the Epitaph album by Necrophagist.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would grow. So you would grow old and or die on this island, and you would be happy with that being the soundtrack, essentially, to your death.
All the songs, right? On them?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So yeah, I think so, because even to this day, when I listen, because I've heard those albums for a lot of years now, and I still find new things in them that I didn't notice. So it's very exciting, that kind of music. So I think so. I think that would be, I'd be very happy with one or two of those albums that I just picked.
Fair enough, and very definitive too. I like that you didn't deliberate on the answer a lot. You know what I mean? Like, you seem to have already, have you thought about being on a desert island and dying to an album? You seem to really come to a very quick answer there.
I mean, I feel like if that happened, you'd have to pick quickly, right?
You'd have to pick quickly.
Yeah. So those are the albums that came to my mind. So that would be good.
And granted, it is my podcast, and I do ask the question a lot, but I like that you fired it back to me, man. But yeah, I guess I would probably say "Dirt" by Alice in Chains.
Oh, okay, very cool.
I'm very into. I've got my wood carving of Lane Staley back there. One of my favorite vocalists of all time. Just I love his voice. I love the timbre of his voice. Very haunting, very creepy, very depressing. So I guess I'd be on this island very fucking depressed, because it is a depressing album, but.
Yeah, that's true. It's very sad stuff.
It's dark. Yeah, it's certainly dark. Now, for you, when you say teaching, in teaching kids, how did this come about? Like obviously you made reference, to the point of the guy offering you a room and being able to make some revenue and not charging you rent, and this being a source of income, But did you have any previous experience with teaching, or was this a passion of yours? Like how do you get in specifically to teaching? Is this something that was you had a yearning to do?
Well, I taught a little bit when I was in high school, like young kids.
Okay.
So I've done it before. I wasn't really planning on doing that, to be honest with you. I wanted to just perform. I just wanted to play. I just wanted to record. That's all I wanted to do. And so I didn't really know if I liked it or not, really, because I had taught a little bit, not not full time or anything like that. And but then I started doing it, and then I ended up really enjoying it. So that's why I still do it. But I'm more select now about who I take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, now, like, you are in Testament, who obviously, it goes without saying, man, that they are, Bay Area thrash royalty. Are there other bands in that legendary Bay Area scene who you are specifically a fan of? I mean, obviously, you're flying the flag for Testament right now as a member of Testament, but from a fan standpoint, though, you love other bands in that scene.
Yeah, absolutely. Death Angel is another good one, and I think that's really cool because they just did the tour of the Exodus, Death Angel, Testament thing.
I saw it last year. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the tour I filled in for, and it's cool because I would say those bands on like Testament, Exodus, and Death Angel, because I listened to a lot of Exodus in high school as well.
Love them,
especially the Paul Bailoff stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love all those bands. Yeah. I would say Exodus after Testament, and then Death Angel. Literally that bill. That would have been, that was super cool to be a part of, because I'm a fan of all of those bands. So. It
sounds like your tastes are certainly, hard rock / heavy metal, but are there any guilty pleasures that you slap on once in a while, from a music standpoint, where people would be kind of surprised? You know what I mean? Like, you're not like behind closed doors throwing on a Justin Bieber album or anything like that, are you? Or maybe you are.
Not Justin Bieber, but I listen to Shakira pretty frequently. Yeah. Okay. I like Shakira a lot. I like Beyonce.
Very easy on the eyes too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, her show, as far as the music, but also the dancing, and also taking music from her roots as a child and making it pop music and stuff. I have a lot of respect for her, and I think it's really easy for me to listen to, because hearing metal and loud and intense and blast beats and no dynamics, sometimes it's going to that. It's really a change of pace, and I like that a lot. So I like some other pop. I love this isn't a guilty pleasure, but I like the Police or Sting, his solo stuff. But yeah, for guilty pleasure, I would say maybe Shakira or Beyonce. Stuff like that, but I still need to, musically, it still needs to be interesting for me. That's all. Yeah.
Now, obviously, you talked about being a fan of Dave Lombardo and Gene Hoglan, awesome drummers. I'm a big Metallica fan. And of course, a lot of these bands that we're mentioning, wouldn't probably have the platform that they have without Metallica. But we obviously always see Lars as a drummer get run down a lot, though. What's your assessment of Lars as a drummer? Not to put you on the hot seat, but I feel like sometimes Lars gets run down unjustly, though. He certainly plays a lot off of feel. I don't believe that he's any kind of person who's going to go out there and say that he's technically, the most technical sound drummer or whatever. But, as me, not a guy that plays the drums or plays any instrument, I listen to a Metallica album and I think, wow, I hear great drumming. But then I always see in comment sections a guy like Lars getting run down a lot. Why is that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. For me, it kind of goes back down to like if you don't like it, you don't have to listen to it. Right. I love Metallica, but also I've heard the conversations of Lars this, Lars that, but those guys are, if they meet him, they're which they have before. For example, I was talking to someone and then he hated Lars, blah 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 blah. Yeah. And it was someone at Berkeley or something like that, right? And then he had the chance to meet him, and then I saw a photo of them two on Instagram or something like that. I'm like, oh really? I thought you hated this guy, So you're the first one to talk shit about him, but you're the first in line at the course to take a photo with him, or to get him to sign your autograph. So I don't know. It could be jealousy too, because he's in literally one of the biggest. He is in the biggest metal band ever. So, me personally, if you're asking if I like him or not, I love him. I was very heavily inspired by Metallica.
Sure.
If you're gonna ask me if he's the best drummer on the planet, no, I don't think I am either. I don't think I am either. I don't think. I don't know what that even means. So, so
it's very subjective. Yeah, very subjective.
It's subjective, and I think also he's the brains behind Metallica, right? I think he's the reason, business wise and stuff. I think so.
I think so. Yeah. I certainly think he catapulted their career with just his person. His people skills, I guess, would be the best way. And very aggressive and really kind of crammed his foot in that door for them,
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I think he's a great drummer, and I think he's in one of the most influential metal bands ever. I love the first 4 or 5 albums.
Yeah,
I listen to them all the time, and and if you don't like it, you don't have to listen to it. So that's my whole thing with that. But also, I know a lot of people who will shit talk him are the first ones to line up to meet him. So especially other drummers, because he's he's Lars Ulrich, you know.
So from a fan standpoint, though, you mentioned Dave Lombardo, you mentioned Gene Hoglan. Are there any other guys who, like, when you hear they're playing, I don't want to word it as like influences, but like, are there guys when you hear their drumming that you really, sit up and take notice and enjoy listening to them play outside of Lombardo and Hoglan?
Can you ask that again? Sorry.
Guys that you're a fan of. You mentioned Hoglan, you mentioned Lombardo, but who are some guys that you really sit up and take notice of when you hear their drumming? Are there guys that you're a fan of?
Believe it, like literally Gene and Lombardo were two of my favorites in high school. Those two guys, I listened to them all the time. But if I'm going to go even more, I would say Neil Peart,
sure,
Stuart Copeland,
yeah,
Police, Mike Mangini, and then a modern guy right now that I'm really into is Matt Garska. He's Animals as Leaders.
Okay.
Absolutely phenomenal player. So yeah, and my sorry, I'm surprised I haven't even mentioned this guy yet. My favorite drummer of all time ever is Tommy Aldridge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
He plays with, especially the stuff with Ozzy, with Randy Rhoads.
Sure.
Yeah. He's my favorite. That tribute album, the tribute to Randy Rhoads, the live Randy Rhoads album with
amazing
with Tommy on it. That was, and it was because when I was a kid, I watched a video of him, like a VCR instructional thing, and he goes, you don't need two bass drums to be cool, but it certainly helps. Yeah. And as a 9-year-old, I was like, yeah, I'm always using two bass drums. That's why I always use two bass drums. I mean, even with Spires, when we first started, I was 15 or 16 years old, and I was bringing my double bass kit, and all these sound guys were like, oh, it's too much space and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I always got shit because I brought two kick drums everywhere, even at small venues. But that's just what I liked, So
yeah,
I don't know. I thought that I didn't care when people did that. I wanted to have a good show, so I brought what I liked, and that was that. Are
you the kind of guy that can scale it back though? Because like I've seen some shows where I just went to a show recently, and there's a guy out there with an acoustic guitar, and then there was a guy sitting on what looked like a box, but he was sitting on it playing it.
Yeah, I mean, I can scale back. I mean, I've especially with Spires, sometimes it's we kit share, drum set share. So me and the one of the other support bands will share a drum set, and usually it's been one bass drum or something like that, or like less cymbal stands or less toms. And of course I can scale it back, but I mean, I'd prefer to have my full setup to put on my full show. But there are times where it's not possible. So yeah, of course I could scale back and stuff if I need to.
Now, you said you were such a big fan of Testament, back when you were a kid. Is it serendipitous? Like, do you have to pinch yourself sometimes when you're looking around on stage and you're up there with Chuck Billy and Alex Skoll? I mean, these guys are legends. I mean,
yeah,
it's got to be mind blowing.
That happened a lot at the beginning, right? So like when it first got announced that I was playing with them and stuff, the first couple of shows, I was like always listening to the songs. It's just I don't know. I got very nervous before the shows because I was like, it needs to be perfect and whatever. Yeah. And then it, obviously when you start playing everything, I started to calm down a little bit because I did the practice, I did the work, so it's going to be fine. But before the show, it was like, it's like, whoa. And then after I started getting more comfortable, then I had those moments on stage where we were playing, and I was always like comfortable, but you know what I mean? Like when you start to get, more comfortable with everybody as people, right. Like the band themselves.
Right.
But then I had those moments of like, I'm playing and we're rocking out, and Steve DiGiorgio will come back and look at me, and we do our stick. I'll throw my stick to him. He throws it back. We do some stuff. And then I have that moment like, whoa, this is Steve DiGiorgio. He's like, he played on all my favorite Death albums. Oh, yeah, that's Chuck. Whoa, I listened to him as a kid. There's but it's cool because you get to know. And then there's Eric, and also just like even just being at Eric's house and writing with him, I've had those moments like, wow, I'm like in the same room writing with Eric. This is super cool. Because it's like me as a kid, I was like big fans of these guys, but then it's cool because you get to know them and stuff. You realize that they're just dudes as well, and they're super they're super great people. So
are there any Testament songs in their legendary discography that are among your favorites to play? And or a second part to that question, are there any that you found to be more challenging than you had initially anticipated?
My two favorites to play is DNR, and that's a Dave Lombardo song, and then from the Gathering album, and then Into the Pit. And I love playing Into the Pit because that's towards the end of the set, and like I know, like, all right, this has been a good show. Let's give it all. Let's towards the end. Let's go.
People are raging.
Start raging, and then the crowd goes absolutely wild for that one when they announce it. So those two are probably like my favorites. I don't have to think much when I'm playing. And then I would say like some of the harder songs were the later, like the new album, like the Titans of Creation stuff, like Night of the Witch, Children of the Next Level, and not necessarily like the playing part, but the memory part, like the forms of the songs, like remembering, because everything, like there'll be the parts will come around 3 or 4, like 3 times or something like that, but every single time there's something a little bit different, and so those are a little bit more of the harder ones. It was from like memory wise, so
Well, I'll tell you what, man, I'm so glad we got a chance to finally do this, man. My apologies for fucking up last week, man. I had you on that West Coast fucking time. I thought, you know what? That was an error on my behalf, because I'm thinking, okay, he's in fucking Testament now. He's got to be out on the West Coast. But you're a Boston guy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, man. And that's no worries, man. I mean, you're at work. I appreciate what you do too as a nurse full time, and
thank you.
I especially, I have a lot of respect for people in healthcare and on the front lines and stuff. So thank you for what you do and everything as well. So,
I appreciate you saying that. And please go see Testament. You could go to the merch table and maybe get a Chris DOVAS bloody fucking drumstick. Maybe. Right?
Maybe. Probably not. I was going to throw that one out, but I didn't think that'd be too sanitary especially after COVID, So
it might not be very sanitary in a post-COVID world. I don't know that people are ready for a bloody drumstick.
Right. Not yet.
That's probably a good idea. But I really appreciate you doing this, man. It's been a real pleasure. And I know you've been at it for a little while with Testament, but congratulations. A great gig to land, man. And I wish you all the best going forward with it, man. Really.
Thank you. Yeah. I hope, I just will do my best and give it my all.
Yeah. Hey, and when I put your episode up, I'll send you the link. Feel free to share it around, man. And I appreciate you, man. Thanks so much for doing this, man.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Let's do it again. All right.
Good talking to you, man. We'll definitely do it again. Keep in touch, brother. Thank you.
All right. Later.
All right. Later, man. Later. There he goes, folks. That is Chris DOVAS, who just landed himself one hell of a fucking gig in Bay Area thrash legends Testament. That's right. The mighty Testament. You know the boys, Chuck Billy, Alex Skolnick. I don't need to say it, man. That's Chris DOVAS, the most recent drummer, and sounds like he's there to fucking stay, man. Committed and fucking loving what he's doing, and love the enthusiasm. And I think he's gonna really, really, really be a great addition to Testament, man. Great guy, great interview, and fucking wish him all the best, man. I mean, come on, man. The gig of a lifetime right there, man. When you're behind the kit and you're looking out and you're seeing fucking the guys in Testament, for fuck's sake, it doesn't get any better than that, man. I mean, I can't say it enough. Bay Area thrash legends. Not even just Bay Area, any fucking area. Testament, show up, man, and throw down. The people are going to be there. They're fucking legends, man. Respect. Put some respect on Testament's name. Always. And why I'm getting so fucking militant here, but in yelling at all of you. But anyway, man, I guess it's just what Testament does. I mean, I don't know. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that chat with Chris. And I really want to thank him a lot for doing it, man. And of course, wish him all the best going forward with the mighty Testament, man. He obviously said they're working on a new album. I'm sure you all out there in the metal world will cop that when it comes out. Certainly go see Testament if they're coming to a town near you. Not to be missed. I saw them last year on the Bay Area Strikes Back tour. You know what you're gonna get when you go see Death Angel, Exodus, Testament, any of those bands from the Bay Area, man. It's on. Game fucking on. They are gonna fucking throw down. So I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. Thanks so much for Chris DOVAS. Go check out everything that he does with Testament, 7 Spires, and his own solo project, also called DOVAS, which is his last name, DOVAS. So, you know, go support him, and certainly check out everything that he's doing, and be ready to hear him on a New Testament album coming soon to a music store, or if music stores are even still going to exist, or better yet, a streaming platform near you, whatever your chosen streaming platform is. But always go out there if you are a metalhead and support Testament, or you will get your metalhead card pulled. That's right. I've got the authority to do it, and it will be pulled. So thanks so much for Chris Dovas for doing that, man. Great chat with him, man. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And remember, kids, until we get together and we do this thing again, please remember to take it easy and keep it sleazy.